And would also love to hear from you as well. Like what's your thoughts on growth? I know, you've done so many interviews and stuff. Would just love to learn from you. Like, what do you think from perspective from what we
Yeah,
just discussed?
I think you hit an important point. I mean, I'm getting somewhat, I'll say it bluntly, but then I'll walk it back. Somewhat cynical of growth in that the point I made before, in that I worry that that constant push to grow and to optimize whatever it is we're doing can be very detrimental for us. And I think not having enough balance in that, and I worry that our kind of base hardware of our minds and how we've evolved over time has led us to that, right? This idea of, because instinctually when we were cavemen or whatever it was, we needed food, right? And it was just this desire to constantly seek out, I need more food, or we need to procreate, or whatever it is, right? And it made sense that we were striving for that. And then you layer consciousness on top of that kind of magic sauce we explained before, and it gives us this ability to say, well, I wanted that thing already. Now I could
Mm,
supercharge that. And I have this ability to think about it from like 360 degrees and assess it and truly optimize for it, which would seem to be a good thing. But I
yeah.
often wonder if it's not more of a curse, because it leads us down this path where we're just constantly seeking and trying to grow and move forward. And it's encouraging for me to hear you talk about it with that balance aspect of it, because I think that's something that I needed to be reminded of, that growth in and of itself isn't bad. It's a necessary function of life. It brings a lot of good things. It's just important that we balance it with the other side of it. I just think it's extremely hard for us to do at scale. And I think we're seeing some of that in society today, and we've seen it, throughout history. I just worry, and this isn't meant to kind of blow smoke or falsely compliment you, but if there's people that aren't as thoughtful as you, if there's people that haven't challenged themselves as much as you have, and they kind of let growth just run rampant and don't have that balance, I could see a lot of
Mhm.
danger of that in the world. So I think it's a very valuable functional thing, but we have to be very, very careful with it. And it's almost like that phrase, with great power becomes great responsibility. Same concept with growth. We should seek growth, but we have to understand what it is, its limits, its dangers, its shadow side. And I don't know
Yeah,
that we always do a great job of understanding that and acknowledging it.
that's so well said. Like, yeah, yeah, you sort of highlight the danger of pursuing growth for the sake of growth,
Mm.
or can be very detrimental. Yes, yes, and I think, like podcasts like this, sharing your thoughts and stuff, would definitely help, your listeners to definitely level up. Like, a good example is this, right? Where we used to think like athletes, like high performance athletes, they only do, like, if you're a runner, you always just run
Mm.
as fast as you can.
Mm.
But nowadays, you sort of follow, what these top performers do. They do all sorts,
Yeah.
like a top performing boxer will not just do boxing. They will try to do breathing exercise to help them breathe better.
Yeah. Ballet
And
class to get their footwork better.
that's right. That's right. Everything else to get better, and having that balance and stuff, to be able to perform better. So I think overall, as a human society has learned that it's getting better, or learning through podcasts and stuff like this, where sharing, like, yeah, growth for the sake of growth, it's really detrimental.
Mm.
um
Mm.
and
Yeah, I think there's a
having that.
thread of humility that's really important too, because, and I think that gets to what you were saying before of why we as humans, why you're optimistic. I think as long as we maintain enough humility, and I mean that in the sense of um always accepting the idea that, like, I may not see the full picture here. There may be some downside that I'm not recognizing, or there's something that I need to be doing differently or I need to learn from. If we maintain
Mhm.
that level of humility, I mentioned Richard Feynman before, the physicist. To me, that's what I valued so much. He was maybe the most brilliant person in the world for his time, but he was in some ways so humble about his wisdom and his knowledge and the limits of it. And I think
Yeah.
that's the key. If we can maintain that humility, that's what'll stop us from just pursuing growth for growth or just going off the deep end and going too far to an extreme. That's what kind of brings us back, as you were articulating before. So I think that's an important aspect of this, that, and I see it in you in this conversation. And I think if there's any value in this show, that's where it comes from. Most of the people that I've had on the show, if not all, have that degree of humility and self-reflection to explore and to say, oh, maybe that is different, or maybe it is that. And if we can keep that, I think that goes a long way for humanity.